Hello, everyone, and welcome to the panel discussion Accelerating Digital Transformation in Financial Services. I am Gaurav Dhariwal, Digital Experience Engagement Manager for Financial Services Europe for Infosys. I thank you for joining us today. We are very excited for having a discussion around how financial institutes can accelerate their digital transformation. Let me start with a quick introduction of our esteemed panelists. I request them to introduce themselves. Manish, can we start with you?
Sure. Thanks, Gaurav. My name is Manish, and I'm responsible for the financial services and the public services regional responsibilities here in Europe at Infosys.
Thank you, Manish. Gaurav, can we go next?
Thanks, Gaurav. Hi, everyone. I'm Gaurav Khera, based out of London, and I head up the digital transformation practice for Infosys in the Europe region, cutting across different industry sectors.
Thank you, Gaurav. Rajiv,
Good day, all. My name is Rajiv Nair, and I am also based out of London, and I look after the new gen operations across the European Union and UK Ireland.
great. Thanks, Rajiv, for the introduction. Let me share a quick snapshot of Infosys and Newgen partnership. So Infosys and Newgen are partners for more than 18 years now. We have done major digital transformation across geographies, across industries. I name few of them. A leading pension bonds from United States. We have done digital transformation for two of the major insurance companies. We have also transformed one of the lending process of a bank from Ireland for their digital lending process. Infosys and Newgen has a combined go-to-market strategy where we are addressing the business challenges and with the innovative digital solutions based on Newgen platform. We also set up a COE for the Newgen offering within Infosys. And along with this, we also have a living lab where we are exploring daily new innovative digital solution for common industry challenges. Let's move forward to our discussion. Manish, based on your rich experience and knowledge in financial services, what are the two notable trends do you see in the region?
I think the two notable trends that I see across the region in financial services here in Europe, one is absolutely accelerated cloud adoption, and the second one is the fintech adoption. Let me come to the cloud adoption first. Last few years is all about being cloud adoption as being the use case with a strategic intent to make it as a mainstay, to bring it mainstream, right? It has always been the case so far, but in the last 2 or 3 years we have seen an accelerated pace in the adoption, and what we are actually witnessing across the board, across the banking clients, is cloud adoption at scale. What I mean by that, for one of our customers in Ireland, uh, which is actually into the asset management business, they actually used the period during the lockdown, the COVID, to actually create a target operating architecture for on top of the cloud Azure platform, on which they can actually migrate their entire stack onto the cloud and make it enabled. Why did they do so? It just helps them be more agile, but more importantly, they are acquiring a lot of firms, and to actually integrate this firms from a technology standpoint becomes lots easier, very seamless when you have a target cloud architecture. And since then they have had quite a few acquisitions, and the timelines for actually merging it into the target technology platform on the cloud is running into months, not in terms of years. So it's really paying back very quickly of their cloud strategy and the investments that they have made for cloud adoption at scale. Coming to point two on the fintech, on the accelerated fintech adoption, I see these happening in three big pockets. One is where the banks are looking to drive digital adoption, And instead of the erstwhile methodology of a front to back, a long drawn transformation projects, one of the routes that they are actually exploring, and which is a big trend in the market today, is looking at fintechs like Newgen, and especially their platforms around mortgage origination, because typically a lending platform, lending origination platform, or a mortgage origination platform has multiple degrees of requires multiple degrees of automation, requires multiple degrees of has multiple degrees of complexity, because it needs to be integrated with the wider ecosystem around it for the origination to take place. And always that used to be a problem of experience and engagement, which the banks are now solving with fintechs in a much more accelerated manner, in a much more shorter time to market. Second example is around unlocking data to drive efficiency, and this I have seen again as a growing trend in the financial services, where you have fintechs like FinLocker, which are actually using the data, customer data, to decide their financial goal, and then helping them reach their financial goal over a period of time. And the third one, which I'm seeing again as a big trend in the financial services sector, is about the new product services and entering new markets. So banks are leveraging fintechs to actually enter into new markets, offer new products, offer new services, just like Marcus. We saw Marcus coming into the UK market, the Goldman Sachs retail bank, or very recently, JP Morgan entering UK market, retail market, on back of Chase. And both of these digital banks are actually powered by fintechs, underlying fintechs. Over to you, Gaurav.
Thanks, Manish. Rajiv, what's your take on this?
I think it's quite similar to what Manish pointed out. So, Newgen, I can answer from Newgen's perspective, which is, a technology company that uses our three core platforms to transform our customers' business operations and their end users' experience. Now, adoption of cloud over the past 2 years has been critical for our growth. If you look at our cloud revenues, and also if you look at our commercial models, it has been quite exponential. And this is because we have, or financial institutions across the region are realizing that using a platform-based approach, a technology approach, is helping them in a number of areas. Things like Manish already said, faster go-to-market or increased market responsiveness, the agility to scale. Um, then they can focus on their core growth and business. And also, IT initiatives or technology is actually being driven more by business needs using cloud, if you look at it. Uh, to expand on another point that my colleague Manish mentioned, is the traditional way of deploying an application has undergone a generational shift, if I may use that word, especially given the last 2 years of the pandemic, which led to an increased uptake in digitization. So when you look at a platform such as ours, which has what is pre-configured use cases, or what we call accelerators, which are 70% ready, and then you combine that, or you marry that with the global experience and the services capability of major partners such as Infosys, uh, tier one financial institutions and challenger banks or challenger financial institutions like Alica are also realizing that going the managed cloud way, using technology or the tool provided by Newgen, and the capability, the delivery capability, and the business knowledge, if I may use the word, of a major player like Infosys, helps them achieve their business objectives in a far more efficient manner. So we are a fintech, and that has also been a trend witnessed over the last 3 or 4 years. Namely, tier one financial institutions in the region have slowly increased their adoption of tools and technologies of from vendors such as ourselves, and if I may use the word, nimbler vendors. So what they're trying to do is putting in what were once futuristic technologies into their day-to-day operations. Okay, and I believe this adoption of fintechs has resulted in banks or financial institutions actually transforming the business to what they've been claiming for a long time, namely customer centric. Right. Now, if you look at challenger banks, that has also accelerated the technology push towards fintechs amongst more established financial institutions, right? And I don't think there's any financial institution, and I'm sure Manish would agree with me, of any size in the region that does not recognize or have a strategy of some kind for cloud and fintechs. Thanks.
Thank you, Rajiv. And Rajiv, do you see any unique digital initiative adopted by financial institutes and how it has benefited to the users?
That's an excellent question, and that's something which I am very passionate about because innovation can mean different things to a bank depending on where they are in their digitization journey. So, for some banks, even in this region, in the European Union, for example, innovation could actually mean just a mobile banking application. Okay, so generally, when people think of innovation, they think it has to be cutting edge technology. No, it's not. Innovation is using technology to transform your business processes to make them futuristic. So it's not about technology. I always believe it's about the process or your business. Okay. But having said that, I would like to take an example of, in fact, it's a joint client of ours. It's a large customer of Infosys as well. And we implemented a project a couple of years ago. It was a quick project for loan origination, specifically origination dealing with the future growth loan scheme. And it was innovative, though it was an origination solution, and people might ask what's so innovative about it. But for the bank, I believe it was innovative because A, it was a solution that it needed to be put in a very, very short frame of time. So I think it was 4 months from start to finish to go live. Uh, Two, it was done completely remotely. It was in the middle of the pandemic. There was no way for us to travel online. So the entire project was executed and delivered online, remotely, with teams spread out across India, London, and Dublin. The third one was it was one of the first managed cloud customer facing applications the bank had deployed. So that means there were a lot of security audits and regulatory hurdles to clear.
And Manish, how do you see the digital initiatives on top of it, what Rajiv has shared with us?
Yes. It's very interesting how the goalpost for the banks have changed in the recent years. Banks have always focused on NPS and shareholders' value for all these years. And the last few years, customers have become very, very socially aware and they want to buy the services from a socially responsible organization. So banks have moved the goalpost from NPS and shareholder value to doing well by doing good. It's very essential for the banks to be seen as they have a very sustainable and socially responsible business model. And one of the very interesting innovation that I have seen in the space is about the carbon action calculator, which is basically integrated with your spend. When you see your credit card spend over a period, it gets aggregated into various categories, and for each category it actually calculates your carbon footprint. But that's not all. It's not about beating you with stick that you're carbon irresponsible. It is basically a simple nudge to you to say, given your lifestyle, given your engagement, This is where you are spending more, or this is where your carbon footprint is more, and these are the two alternative products which you can consider buying the next time. So it is a positive way of changing the behavior of the consumer. And I think this is one of the most impactful digital initiative I have seen in the recent times. Because I'll tell you what, when we talk about ESG, and within ESG, when we talk about E, environment, 70% of the carbon emission is directly due to the consumer buying pattern. So imagine if the banks across the board start doing this, how much we can actually help to save our planet. And I think this is by far a very simple innovation, but an extremely impactful one. Back to you, Gaurav.
Absolutely, Manish. Absolutely. Gaurav, we heard Rajiv and Manish. So, what technologies do you see which are crucial to have evolution around the digital lending space?
Great question, Gaurav. Just reflecting on what Rajiv and Manish have been talking about, I would just like to throw light on three key trends and imperatives that are there for organizations to, especially the financial organizations, to accelerate their digital transformation journey. First and foremost, Manish spoke about the rapid increase in fintechs that are giving digital only options to the consumers. That is actually creating a lot of pressure on enterprise financial institutions to innovate faster as well. Therefore, I would say key imperatives for these enterprises is to build a composable and flexible technology stack that allows them to experiment faster and leverage the best of breed technologies available in the ecosystem, the likes of fintechs, likes of Newgen, to reduce the time to market. And we see many organizations now investing in cloud native, low code, no code technologies to increase the speed of delivery. So that's the first imperative and key trend that we are seeing. The second key consideration is for while they're kind of the organizations are going through this digital transformation journey, it is very important to have speed to value, right? So a lot of organizations are becoming, of course, cost conscious. There is a huge cost associated to this transformation shift. Uh, so it is no longer a game of long drawn transformative approach over years, but the fundamental shift is towards a mindset where you do small pockets of transformations, prove the value, learn from it, get the data, make value out of data, and then pivot your way towards the transformation journey. To that effect, we are working with a number of financial institutions to take a human-centric approach to reimagine the fundamental processes in their digitization journey. This fundamentally involves putting customers at the front and center of everything that you design for. And this is pretty much designed around the speed and convenience of end users. And this often results in end-to-end process busting or automation of processes to reduce the number of steps required to execute a task. And we see many organizations now investing in business process automation tooling. We work extensively with Newgen also in this space and leverage their platform. And take an agile approach, as I mentioned, take process by process, take the customer acquisition process or a registration process or a lending process, payment process, take individual processes, look at it from an end-to-end process perspective and reimagine it rather than just trying to digitize what currently exists and drive your overall journey based on the customer centricity behavior, right? So that's the second key imperative. The third one I would say, which is equally important, is the right level of skill set that is needed to deliver such transformative journeys. Often we see that organizations have uh, defined their North Star visions, but they are still in this journey for over years because they lack the right skill set within the organization and outside to bring the speed to value, as I mentioned earlier. So we are also working with number of institutions right at grassroots level, with the universities, academias, or councils to build these digital native skill sets, and also with the enterprises to reskill their existing workforce so that they are able to move at speed in these transformation initiatives. So, in nutshell, I would say a flexible, composable IT stack that promotes an ecosystem and embraces the fintechs to bring speed of delivery, combined with a human-centric approach, and proving the value as we go along, and focusing on reskilling the workforce to adapt to the digital technologies are the fundamental imperatives to make the transformation program successful.
Thanks, Gaurav. And Gaurav, we talk about the gap between the IT and the business. So how do you see that? Is the gap growing or is it's being bridged now?
So, if you kind of reflect on my previous response, Gaurav, uh, I would say that the trend that we are seeing is definitely towards bridging the gap rather than growing. I would guides in a way the maturity of the organizations is growing. If I look at the IT house of the world, right, and as I mentioned that the shift is towards speed of delivery, speed of innovation. IT organizations are definitely bringing that kind of IT stack or culture, which is composable, fintech oriented, that brings that speed of experimentation into play. And that's what fundamentally businesses request for, because they are trying to kind of devise new business models they want to test out with end consumers. So IT definitely is investing more on building such IT stacks, and hence they are aligning to businesses. And uh, uh, I believe initially you mentioned about having living labs or experimentation labs, sandboxes. We work with number of customers in setting up such cloud native accelerated sandbox environments for them to experiment fast. And similarly, on the business side, they're realizing that while it is important to experiment fast, it should not come at the cost of kind of scaling it out when it has a proven value, right? So they're also open to collaborating with IT at early stages of their kind of thought process and business cases to ensure that they have alignment in the relevant flexible technology stack available. So in nutshell, I would say that definitely we see more alignment and synergies to drive the speed of experimentation in today's world.
Right. Right. Thanks, Gaurav. And along with this, we also see like new generation low code possibilities, which are also helping the business coming close to the IT. That's also helping. With more and more digital transformation, we also see the regulations are also ever increasing now. So how this platform approach is addressing that?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I can spend a day answering that. But put simply, this question goes to the heart of the debate for a technology company such as ourselves. What is the future of banking software? Uh, is it SaaS? Is it BaaS? Is it license? Now, the way I would look at it is IT expenses make up only part of of an average bank's revenue, right? So from being a technology company, what I always stress on are the capabilities and agility of a modern platform such as ours, which allows, the end customer financial institutions of any size to create new value, unlock untapped value areas across their business model. Okay. Um, Now, risk and compliance or the regulatory function within banks is no exception. If you look at and ignoring all the other scandals which seem to pop up every other month, banking is one of the most heavily regulated industries in the world. And regulatory frameworks which are global, FATCA, GDPR, I don't know, regional CCD, for example, maybe even local regulatory authorities like the FCA in the UK. Okay, they keep on evolving. But if you look at how they evolve, they are more often one of two. They're either reactive, that is sort of bolting the stable door after the horse is bolted. I mean, locking the stable door, sorry, after the horse is bolted. Or they swing to the other extreme. They are proactive years out from when uh, the regulation actually comes into play. Now, the second approach which regulatory bodies tend to take is increasing complexity rather than simplifying. I mean, a classic case in point is Basel. Basel 1, the entire agreement was only 30 pages long. Basel 2 was 10 times more, 347 pages. Basel 3 was double that, 616 pages. And Basel 4, which is coming up, God only knows how big that's going to be. Now, a platform-based solution such as ours, what it allows is, it allows the flexibility to financial institutions of what I call DIY. Okay, do it yourself, but not so much do it yourself. See, when you have domain experts or people who understand regulations, like for example, Infosys Consulting, okay, they can design the process or they can design the workflow to suit a new regulation or an evolution of an existing regulation. Now, however, when it comes to implementing that in terms of a tool or technology, if you're going to end up if you're going to buy a point solution for each and every such regulation or regulatory change modification, that proves to be too time consuming. Maintaining those systems as in terms of a run cost or in terms of OPEX is again ever increasing. And nowadays, while cost effectiveness goes hand in hand with efficiency, it is still an important factor. So a platform-based solution, enables banks to, if I may use the word, avoid large sunk costs, okay, or reduced capex and opex. Now, our approach has been always, we understand that it's not just a matter of taking an automation platform like ours, no matter how world class it is, and just applying it to solve different regulatory needs. However, if combined with the expertise brought about by a partner, then implementing a platform is far more beneficial for a financial institution in the long run when dealing with regulation than picking and choosing best of breed point solutions for each and every regulatory change. So for me, it is a given, and of course I'm biased to a certain extent, that dealing with ever increasing regulation, platform is the way to go. Whether it's SaaS or BaaS, that's a matter of debate, but the old license perpetual point solution will not work.
Thanks, Rajiv, and really exciting. And thank you everyone for sharing your insights and perspective. And we can clearly see that to adopt a digital transformation for organization, they have to break their objectives into smaller and manageable goals, and then deploy the platforms, technology platforms like Newgen to optimize their systems and processes. So Newgen provides a perfect opportunity for a financial institute to accelerate their digital transformation. And this we close this very exciting and engaging discussion today. And I would like to thank you again. Thank you, Manish. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you, Rajiv. And thank you, everyone, and have a good day.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Thank you.